Hi, my name is Cheyenne Van. I chose bullying as my topic for my senior project because I have had life experiences with it. I was able to withstand it, but now children are dying, and I want to leave a message to stop bullying.
In the schools. Coming up, you kind of felt your parents may have told you, oh, don't worry about it, you know, it'll pass, kind of situation. Now we see that bullying can lead to some bad situations, suicide. It can lead to the person who's being bullied turn around and bullying others at some point. It's just, we've seen in the news some bad results from bullying that occurred over time with some different kids. So it's very important to address early on, as early as kindergarten, first grade, so kids know what it looks like, know what to expect when they are getting bullied, and know what to do. And also the kids who are the bystanders. Those are the most important players in it, because what are you going to do? Are you going to speak up and say something, or are you going to watch it? And even if you're not involved, if you see it happening and you don't do anything about it, you're just as much to blame as the bully. So I don't think you're innocent if you're on the sidelines seeing something like that and don't do anything about it. Yeah.
That's a very good answer.
Thank you.
My next question is, what would be your top definition of bullying?
Bullying to me is when you have someone who either is empowered or feels empowered over another person for whatever reason, and because of that empowerment that they feel internally, they use it in a negative way to kind of undermine or put down, insult, or assault, even abuse a person that they feel is beneath them. Whether it be physically, on a lower mental level, or whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be, it doesn't necessarily have to occur between, the bully doesn't have to be the bigger person, if you will. It could be someone who's maybe more intelligent, or the victim could be a mentally handicapped person. So size does not always dictate the bully. You know, it may be the smaller person who's the bully. So that's something you need to consider. So basically someone who feels empowered over someone else and uses that in a negative manner to harass someone else. That's my definition.
Thank you. And my last question is, what are the top things that you guys do as policemen and sergeants do to stop bullying, to let kids know that this is something that needs to be taken very seriously, that we have to get this in control and we have to stop it as soon as possible?
Well, that's a good question. I'm the crime prevention community services officer, if you will. I'm a sergeant, but kind of wear a couple of different hats as far as I also supervise the school resource officers.
Awesome.
So there's some things that I do in schools and in our PAL organization, which is Police Athletic Activities League, where we spend time with kids after school, letting them see a more positive side of us, and we talk to them about bullying and that environment, so they understand that it's not cool. I also supervise the school resource officers, and each of them put on their own classes for the students that they work with at their individual schools. We really hit it in the middle school years, because that typically is that transition phase. You don't normally see quite as much of it on a real serious level anyway in the elementary school years. kids are kind of feeling things out, deciding where they are in the pecking order, or where they feel they fall in that order. And then by the time you get to middle school, people have their cliques, and they kind of feel like, okay, I've kind of arrived, and this is how I'm going to be. I'm going to be the bully, or I'm going to be the victim, or I'm the cool kid, or I'm not, or I'm the athlete. So that's where you see the groups come into play. So we really try to hit it hard, especially with the 6th graders, right off the bat. This is what bullying looks like. This is how you should respond to it. You need to tell someone. Don't try to internalize it and keep it to yourself, because that person, like I said, may be the person that we deal with as police officers down the road as being the one who's kept all this in for so long, and now they're committing criminal behavior, or they're suicidal, or things of that nature. So it's so important to just let the kids know early on that it's not okay. And you need to tell a teacher, you need to tell your parents. As a bystander, you need to step up and defend your friends. Or if they're not your friends, you need to let somebody know this is what's going on. Somebody needs to do something about it. And I think as police officers, as school administrators, teachers, I think we're finally getting to a point where we're starting to take it more seriously. I know we are as a police officer, because we've got statutes now that we have to enforce if we see it. So, and there's cyberbullying, there's different avenues that it comes from. It's not just, person to person. It's online, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And that's something that we can deal with in the school as well. Kids have been suspended for cyberbullying, even when they're not in school. So it's just important to educate the kids, the administrators, the principals, the police officers, that something needs to be done, and don't step back and see this happen and not do anything, because it may be that victim who winds up being the bigger problem after a while, and hopefully you don't get into a situation where it's built up over time and you see someone take their own life because of it, or we've seen these active shooter situations nationally where kids may have been bullied over time, and they wind up going back and years later shooting up a school, and the people who are the victims in that didn't have anything to do with the bullying, but it's built up inside of that person, and they finally letting it out. And that's why you need to start early. Don't let it get to that point. It's not okay.
What are your thoughts on bullying?
Thoughts on bullying? Well, I don't think anybody likes bullying, except maybe a bully. I don't think a bully really likes bullying, to be honest with you. I think there's a reason when children in particular, and of course adults can also be bullies. But I think the root cause of that a lot of times is the person doing the bullying, doing the picking, doing the pushing around of other people, and actually feel small themselves. So they're looking someone to sort of dump that anger and aggression on. Sometimes bullying is done for a specific reason, to gain popularity, to solidify power within a group. So there can be a variety of reasons why a person would bully, but that would typically be in older children. You have to be careful to make sure that what you're seeing in actuality is bullying, because sometimes children engage in behavior that can be hurtful, but it's not intended to be harmful. So they can say things or tease, call names, that sort of thing, that maybe they think that, well, it's okay, but they don't realize the damage that they're doing the other person. So I think the key is to confront the person doing the bullying, define what it is that they're doing as bullying, so that they understand that this is not acceptable behavior, and then to give them some kind of alternative route to take, some other way to express maybe some pent-up anger, some other way maybe to build popularity, some other way to feel more secure in their place within a group, rather than just say, well, you're a bad kid and you do bad things and we're going to punish you. Instead of punishment, let's look at correcting the behavior.
What are some ways that you can prevent bullying?
Well, as with anything else, to prevent it, you have to understand it. You have to understand the mechanism that causes it. You have to understand the mechanism in which the dynamic occurs. Sometimes you have to look at the person that is being directed at and find out what kind of behavior changes you may see in them, depression, withdrawal, anger, something of that nature that's a change in their behavior, before you understand that it's going on. I think that with children in particular, a lack of information and knowledge is what gets children in trouble. So they don't understand sometimes what they are or are not supposed to do. So we have to do a better job of letting kids know what bullying is, defining it, making them understand, okay, this is what that is. It's not picking, it's not good-natured, it's hurtful, and why it's hurtful. The other part of that is letting adults know also what it is, what to look for, communicating to the adults in a way that they understand. These are the warning signs. These are the early warning signs. These are the things to look for with children in your class, children in your scout group, children on the baseball team. These are the things that you may see as an early warning signal that some child is being singled out, bullied, picked on, left out. A lot of times we think about the affirmative when people do things to us, but being left out, being ostracized, being neglected is also a form of bullying, where you may have someone that says, well, don't talk to this kid, he's not cool, or she's not pretty. That's another way that bullying can occur, and it's a lot more difficult to recognize something that's not happening but it's causing somebody to have some emotional distress than it is to realize something that, well, here's something affirmative, we can put it into words, we can articulate what the thing is. It's much more difficult to say, well, this is what this is, absent any particular thing you put your finger on. So we've got to let folks know the children, the adults, everybody that's involved, up and down the ladder, got to communicate to them effectively, some definition, things to look for, and understand what the net effect of bullying on a child can be.
How do you feel about bullying? Like, what are your thoughts on bullying?
In elementary school, we are taught a lot to concentrate on defining really the definition of bullying and preventing it. A lot of research shows that true bullying, kind of in middle school. So we are trying to educate them to prevent it. Now, of course, our upper grades, I do really have some cases of bullying. But for the most part, for younger kids, we're trying to establish, is this the difference in you are picking as well, or is this really a constant problem? So when we taught our kids about bullying, we did like a 3-step lesson. One, you're intentionally being hurt in some way. So sticking your tongue out somebody, is that hurting? You have to work with that with elementary kids. Because you will hear the word, he's bullying me, a lot, So we first sit down with the child and, are you sure, are you being hurt? Is it happening over and over again? Is someone trying to exert power over you, which is really the definition of bullying? And are you innocent? Now, we ask kids a lot that, is this bullying or is this a conflict resolution problem? Because if you're doing something to them, first, or then we've got to do some conflict resolution. So we first try to identify that. I think with elementary school, as far as my thoughts, there are times when the word bullying just makes me want to pull my hair out because it's a serious word. And a lot of times I feel like kids are being taught to just throw the word around. And I do really, really stress this is a serious word. And are you being hurt? You know, just to make sure they understand the difference in that. So I do recognize it's a serious problem. I think children need to be educated. And then I'm really big on conflict resolution, on standing up for yourself, on being firm but not aggressive. Because I think it's important kids still learn, you know, there's not always going to be a teacher, an adult, a counselor there to help them solve this. And I think in teaching children to be resilient, we have to teach them the skills to be able to firmly, you know, say stop doing this without being aggressive. And that's one of our steps that we told them, you know, you say stop, state the behavior, and tell them why. So for example, stop picking on me about my glasses. I cannot help, I have to wear them. I'm going to wear them every day, so please stop. An example of a firm way, you know, without just running and tattletelling. And in elementary school, you have to do a lot. I have a book somewhere right there, tattling. I do a lot of book fair with small kids. You know, the tattletale tongue. And you have to go the difference between tattletelling and really needing help. So that's just kind of my thoughts about the word bullying. It's just teaching kids that it's a serious word. And not to just throw it around just because you're having conflict with your peers.
That's really good. So what are some ways that you do here to prevent bullying?
We, at the beginning of the year, established, that was one of our first classroom guidance lessons where the other counselor and myself went in, was to teach what bullying was, to teach how to respond to bullying, when you need to ask for help. We also implemented a school-wide motto that we have, and the kids, we did a survey at the beginning of the year, and 93% of our kids, even the elementary kids, could tell you what our motto was. If you said, what is our school motto about bullying? Even the kindergarten kids could go, we stand. You know, and the upper grade levels, we wanted them to be able to repeat all of it. But it's together we stand against bullying. Teach them, you know, if you show good character every day, we won't have this problem. If you treat others the way you want to be treated, we won't have this problem. But if we do have this problem, we always report it to an adult at school or home. We never bully others or laugh with a bully. We teach that excluding, laughing, even if you're not the one saying the hurtful words, you can still be participating in it. And do our best to help anyone who's being bullied. So we try to teach our kids stand up for each other. If you see a kid on the playground, go over there and say, hey, you can play with me. You know, try to do that. So these were taught and they're posted in every classroom and random spots throughout the school. As teachers are seeing problems, you know, maybe with particular kids, we can do some individual counseling, trying to figure out what is making this child have the need to bully others. You know, there's a cause and a reason behind that. So we can do individual counseling, might go back in the classroom, which several times we have to do, and do some whole group, you know, this is the problem, what's going on. Small groups for students, the same students who seem to be doing this over and over again with wanting to exert power. And then again, like for younger kids, you know, lots of books for little kids. Again, with kindergarten and first grade, and probably second grade, you have a lot of the establishing is it tattletelling and just learning social skills. You really do. But as you get, I had some pretty serious issues with 3rd, 4th, and 5th this year. And my principals have been great because we said at the beginning of the year it would not be tolerated. If we establish that it is bullying, it is a over and over again ongoing hurtful behavior that is making another student uncomfortable or doesn't want to come to school, I'll take it to an administration at that point, and they have been very good. I mean, we have suspended students who once we have identified that that's what it is, to make sure we have a clear message that we're not going to tolerate you making someone else uncomfortable to come to school. And give resources to teachers if we need to. There's so many great books out. Now, you know, bullying is a really, really big topic for school counselors. And then we maintain a bulletin board. We change it. the ones the ups now. I love it. I'll show you. We're going to take a picture of that later. But it's right outside the cafeteria. And they all know that that's the theme of that bulletin board. So we just try to send the message. And our character education program of all throughout Johnston County schools, you know, to prevent bullying, we just need to teach them how to treat others. You know, respect and responsibility and integrity and courage, you know, all of these things. So not just concentrating on don't do, but the things that they need to do, the way we need to treat other people, the way we need to accept each other's differences, you know, deal a lot with diversity, just different, respect people's differences. We're all different, and that's what makes, you know, the world great. So I think we've done a good job with it. Of course, I do, you know, hope that we are sending a message to these kids that they'll carry on throughout life.